fight the battles that you know that you can win and where you won't get caught into a mudslinging competition. By that I mean that you focus on the issue of the civilian casualties, the right of the Palestinians not to live under occupation, the violence that Israel implicates on the occupied people, the way that they've monopolized the narratives and everybody's suddenly waking up to it, the realities of the Palestinians who live under the Israeli occupation. You'll notice that Human Rights Watch today is using the word apartheid. Amnesty is using the word apartheid. Apartheid is being used on the Congress floor. These things are unprecedented. You couldn't imagine they would happen 70 years ago, but they're happening now as a result of the breaking of Israel's monopoly. What Israel is concerned about is not that you will prove that the IDF were involved in the criminality of whatever happened on October 7th. What Israel is terrified of is that the world will now see the Palestinians as human, that the world will now see the Palestinians not as the barbaric animals that they've been painting them as for the last 70 years, but that they will see them as ordinary children, as mothers, as fathers, as elderly and the like. That's what Israel is terrified of. And that's why the focus of any talk on Palestine should be on the humanity of the cause and on the humanity of the Palestinians. That these are not terrorists being killed, these are ordinary civilians. And that's why I thought it very poignant that a lot of the focus in recent days has been about the idea that when everybody says, will you condemn Hamas? People are saying, okay, fine, let's suppose I do. And let's suppose we go past this point. Let's imagine Hamas is eradicated. Let's imagine you remove them. Then what do you do about the world that is the West Bank, for example? What do you do about the Palestinians who remain there? Suddenly you find that where they're trying to drag you into a mudslinging bath in terms of what Hamas is and what they do, you force them onto a terrain that is very much realistic, where they have no answers. You mentioned earlier about the West Bank. The reason the West Bank is such an uncomfortable topic for the Israelis and Western media is because there is no Hamas in the West Bank. You have a Palestinian Authority that has abided by all of the conditions that the Americans have wanted since the Oslo Accords of 1993. You have a Palestinian Authority that proactively restrains the resistance of the Palestinians in order to uphold agreements with the Israelis. You have a Palestinian Authority that cooperates on security issues with the Israelis on the basis that the Israelis will leave them alone. What's the excuse for Israel to keep bombing them? And that's why I think that when it comes to social media, the reason they've been so effective is because they haven't been bogged down on where the Israelis want to talk about, which is criminality of actions or terrorism and the like, but focusing on the humanity of the Palestinians. And that's what's making the Israelis go ballistic. They cannot fathom the idea that the ordinary American who shouts at DeSantis in the supermarket is telling them that I don't believe that those civilians deserve to be bombed because of the actions of a few. And that's why Israel's monopoly is being broken, because we're seeing a lot of non-Muslims online who are saying that all my life I believe the Israeli narrative, but I can't think of any scenario where it's justified to bomb a hospital and kill 500, to leave babies under the rubble, to see the pictures of a baby's head being split into two, wa'iyadhu billah, may Allah never show anybody anything like that, to see the video of the child who's shaking with fear and then burst into tears when he's hugged by somebody because he doesn't know where his parents are, the like. That shakes the heart, because what you're speaking to here is not just to the conscience of humanity, but to the fitrah. The fitrah is screaming in every individual, Muslim or non-Muslim, that there is something so horribly wrong here. And no matter what Israel or Ben Shapiro or these other people are saying, nothing can justify what I'm seeing before my eyes. And that's why I know sometimes some Muslims want to get bogged down in, you mentioned in between quotation marks, conspiracy theories, but the reality is that the victory is not being won in those battles. It's being won in finally breaking Israel's stranglehold on the monopoly, and for the first time us breaking through the algorithm and actually telling people the story. And it's worth noting here, there is a prominent political analyst in the US who helped to modernize the political industry where I work. My job is to advise corporate clients how to save money in crises and disasters by advising them what's going to happen next and scenario planning. But Ian Bremmer, who we tend to follow for his analysis, he put a tweet up where he said, I've never seen so much disinformation on the issue of Palestine and Israel. What he meant was, I've never seen so much pro-Palestinian content on my feed. So you can imagine how many people are now being exposed to that. So the question, and I'll reframe your question slightly, what should we be showing the world? We should be showing the world that the Palestinians are human, that they are mothers and children and fathers with aspiring dreams like everybody else, and that they're being slaughtered simply because Israel believes it has a 1,000-year-old claim on a piece of land. And I think that's what's breaking the narrative, and we're seeing the global shift in public opinion.
And I have a burner account on Twitter where that allows me to look at these things without being able to reply right away. But it's like you said, the average Joe, even in the United States, and all these fake accounts and regular people, the longer this war goes on, the more educated they're getting on the issue. So in the beginning, you saw people posting stuff like, hey, what's going on over there? Oh, they're at it again. Well, now we're 2 and 3 weeks in. The same people have bothered now to look up history of Palestine, look up origin of the Israeli state. And they're actually, this, in a sense, it's backfiring badly upon Israel. The more people are getting educated that Israel is not a state, a country like Ecuador, Bolivia, like a regular old country that's been around for hundreds of years. This is a country that, came into being with controversy, came into an existence through a Nakba, or a disaster, what's called a great catastrophe, came into being by British hands, right, putting it in, and came into being through refugees. As we mentioned before you came on, Gaza is in fact 70% refugees. The people of Gaza all came out from the Nakba and moved in. And on this live stream itself, one of the things we're trying to do is the ABCs, the 101. What is the history of Israel? What is the history of Palestine? What is the Nakba, for example? What is the 1948 borders? Who was Theodor Herzl? What were the ideas going on in the 1900s that led to the existence of this state? So the people on the ground, on one hand, they're catching up to history. And a lot of these guys, especially a lot of the right-wingers, this is their first rodeo on Palestine and Gaza. The people who got activated politically through Trump, these guys who are very outspoken online and are very much America first, this is their first time actually truly getting exposed to this type of thing.
True.
So the narrative is being changed across the board, even really in the United States, although the establishment is not budging on it.